what's up guys, it's Aiden and
Lucy. This is the Hoodie Mountain, and it has a secret pocket on this sleeve. So yeah, it's a pocket. So
and Penny. Sorry guys. And today I'm just gonna be showing you guys how to sew the Mountain View hoodie that Lucy was just showing off. Pretty cool. I hope you guys get this. She will be linking the pattern down below if you would like to purchase it. Now let's get sewed.
I'm trying to put my hoodie on. Okay. Oh, there we go.
In this video, I'm going to be making the Mountain View hoodie in the shirt length with the color block back, and I'm going to do the hood with long sleeves, and one of my sleeves is going to have a pocket. So to do all those options, these are the pieces that I'll need. I'll need one front, I'm going to need two sides for the back. These pieces are mirrored. I'm going to need one middle back. For the hood, I'm going to need the two middle hood pieces and the two hood pieces. One of them is going to be your liner, and one of them is going to be the outer. I've made my fabric the same because when the hood is open, I want it to match. So then we're going to need a waistband, so two waistband pieces, and then my long sleeve, and then my two sleeve cuffs. And then for the sleeve with the pocket, we'll need a sleeve top, a sleeve bottom, the pocket band. Okay, so let's start with the color block back. I'm going to sew one of the sides to the middle. I'm going to press it, and then I'm going to repeat. So we make them right sides together. Lining up these edges right here. And then sew it using a stretch stitch or your serger. So this side has been sewn on, and I press the seam out towards the side seam. And now I'm going to sew this side on. So same process, lining up those raw edges and sewing 1/4 inch seam allowance right down this side. Our back is complete. We've sewn the side pieces on, we've pressed our seam out towards the sides, and now you can, if you want, top stitch this seam using a zigzag or your cover stitch machine or some other decorative stitch. And once you're done doing that, you can move on to sewing the front and back together. Okay, so now we're going to sew our shoulder seams. So this is my front, and I'm going to take my back and lay it right side together. I'm going to line it up at the shoulder seams. This is the only place I'm going to sew. So right here and here, and I'm going to sew using a stretch stitch and a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so the seams are sewn. And you want to take the time to just press those seams towards the back of your shirt. So your seam sticks up like that, just press it to the back, okay? And next, we will work on our pocket sleeve. So for our pocket sleeve, we're going to need one pocket top, and then, one sleeve top, one sleeve bottom, one pocket, and one pocket band. If you're doing two sleeves with the pocket, you're going to want to double all of this. So just to show you what this is going to look like assembled, it will look like basically like this. So to start it off, we need to sew the band to the pocket. So you're going to fold this band in half and just attach it to the top of the pocket. Now the top of the pocket is going to be the widest part, right? Because the sleeve is wider up here. The bottom of the pocket will be the narrow part because it's going to have to attach to the bottom of the sleeve. So You can fold this in half, wrong sides together, and then press it. Or if you're wanting to, you can just fold it in half and then take it to your machine and sew it. So it's going to be like that. Okay, so here's the band sewn on, and you're just going to want to press it up. So that makes the seam go down right here. And you're going to lay it on top of the sleeve, lining up the raw edges on the sides, the bottom, and this side. Now we're going to stitch this on to the sleeve. We're going to use a stretch stitch or some other sort of stretchy stitch, like a cover stitch machine would also work. And you're going to want to leave about, depending on your size, a 2 to 4 inch opening somewhere in the middle. So you'll start sewing from here to wherever you've decided how wide you want your pocket. This is a size 5, so my pocket opening isn't going to be very wide. So I'm just going to mark it with some pins. So I'll start sewing from here to here, and then I'm going to stop. Make sure you back stitch so it doesn't come loose, and then I will start sewing from here to here and then back stitch. So this will be my very tiny pocket opening, so it'll be just the right size for my daughter's hands and to hide all her rocks in. Okay, so here I have my pocket stitched on. There's my pocket opening, and now we're gonna attach the bottom of the pocket sleeve. So I'm gonna line up the widest part of the pocket, this part with the widest part of the bottom sleeve. See, when I flip it upside down, it won't match up. So if it lines up, you're good to go. And I'm just going to fold it right side together. And then I'm going to run a stretch stitch down this side right here. I'm actually going to use a serger. And then I'm going to press my seam up to the top of the sleeve. Okay, so my pocket is sewn on, and I pressed my seam towards the top of the sleeve, and then I top stitched it using my cover stitch machine. Next, we're going to attach the sleeves to the shirt, and it doesn't matter if you're using short sleeves or long sleeves with pockets. The process is all the same. Okay, so to sew the sleeves on, you're going to need your shirt assembled to the back piece. You're going to need your sleeves. And what you got to do here is, because the sleeves were cut on the fold, is just find the center line of the sleeve. And it's really easy. You take the sleeve and you fold it in half, and then you mark this halfway point right here, that's center, with, you can clip into the fabric, use a clip on the fabric, or I like to use a pin. So now I know my center is right there. And that is the mark that I'm going to use to line up to my shoulder seam. So we go ahead and we open our shirt up. And I'm laying it right side up. And I want to make sure that those seams, my shoulder seams here, are still pressed towards the back. And then I'm just going to take my sleeve and lay it right side together. And I'm going to line up that mark, that center line of the sleeve, with my shoulder seam. And I'm going to clip it in place. Now, to sew this on here, I'm going to start by taking this corner. I'm going to go up like this. And I'm going to put this part of my sleeve into my sewing machine. And I'm just going to sew all the way in the middle. And then I'm going to keep sewing all the way around like this until I get to this end. Okay, so to show you what I mean, here's my shirt, and there's that corner. And here's my sleeve, and here's that corner. And I'm just gonna line those guys up perfectly like that. And then I'm gonna put it under my foot. And I'm gonna sew to this middle point where the clip is. Now I'm almost to where that seam is. I took my clip out. And I'm just going to line this other corner up. This is my sleeve. This is my shirt. And I'm going to line those corners up. Go. So it looks like this. So here it is on my table now. The sleeve sewn on, there's my seam. And I'm just going to flip it around and I'm going to repeat that same process on my other sleeve. So making sure this seam is towards the back. Take my sleeve and lay it right side together. I'm going to clip it right here. And then I'm going to start sewing right here. Sew down this way to the middle. And then I'm going to sew to here. With my sleeve sewn on, I'm going to do the side seam. So I'm just going to fold the shirt so that the shirt front and back are right side together. And I'm going to line up the side seam. So the seam for the sleeve all the way down to this armpit, and then I'm going to sew all the way down to the bottom. And then I'm going to repeat on this side. So lining up those raw edges. Starting here, sewing all the way down, still using a stretch stitch and a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Alright, so here my side seams are sewn, and the next step is to work on the sleeve cuffs. And the sleeve cuffs are only good for the long sleeves. If you try to attach them to the short sleeve, they're going to be really tight on your kid's arm. Okay, so to do the sleeve cuff, you need an assembled shirt with your long sleeves and then 2 sleeve cuffs. And this is really easy. You just fold them in half long ways, line up this short edge, and then sew from here to here. Or a little trick is to fold it and then fold it again like that, and then sew down this edge. And then when you're done sewing this, you won't have to fold it again. So I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so this one is the one that I just folded in half the one time, and now I have to fold it in half again. So wrong sides together, lining up those seams, and then just turning it like this. And now my cuff is ready to go. But with this one, I folded it twice. So I fold it in half, and then I fold it in half again. And then all I gotta do is turn it, and then voila. And the seam is a little less bulky with this method than this method, but both methods work fine. So what you want to do now is, with your sleeve, go ahead and take one of your cuffs, raw edge, seam, seam, and just stick that right inside like this, lining up those seams, and then you're going to want to stretch it to fit. And then put it in your sewing machine and sew it in the round. And I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so sewing it in the round looks like this. So my cuff is inside, and I'm going to open it up. I'm pushing one seam that way and one seam this way to make it less bulky. And I'm going to line these raw edges up the best that I can and open it up like that. lift my foot up. And I'm going to shove it under here like this and put my foot down. So I'm inside of the round, and I'm just going to stretch that cuff to fit. So here we go. I'm just making sure my raw edges are staying, for the most part, lined up. Now, around. There we go. I'm going to raise my needles up, my foot up, move the fabric out of the way, and then run it off. So it looks like that. So remember, you just put it under your foot like that, so your foot is going to be inside, and that's sewing in the round, which is a lot easier than if you tried to sew it like this. But if you can and you like it, whatever works for you. Okay, so both my sleeve cuffs have been sewn on, and I can just turn those out like this. And the next step I'm going to work on is sewing my hood. Okay, so to sew the hood, I need 2 hood middle pieces and 2 hoods, and then 1 assembled shirt. So one of these sets will be a liner, and one of them will be an outer. I like to have them match because when my hood is open, I think it looks really cool when it matches my back piece when I have it color blocked. So, but feel free to use whatever you want for the fabric. So the hood's pretty easy. It just takes a little bit of pinning or clipping. You're just going to open it up, and you're going to put the hood piece right side together with the curve. So you'll notice on the hood piece that you have a wide side and a narrow side. Your narrow side is your star side, and that is the part that's going to match this bottom part of the hood, and it's also going to match your color block back piece. So if it's narrow, it's on the back. If it's wide, it's on the front. So we just need to take this and line it up here at the top. Put a couple clips in before you get to the curve, and then line it up here at the bottom, right sides together. Put a couple clips in up into the curve. And now when you sew it, you are going to ease this part of the hood in. So you're just going to stretch it to get it to fit. So I'll show you what that looks like on the machine. Okay, so I got my hood facing up, my hood middle piece facing down, the right sides together. Now I'm just going to put this under my foot. And I'm going to start sewing until I get to that clip. And then I'm just going to start stretching this to fit. Make sure those raw edges stay lined up. Just like that. So now we're just going to repeat on the other side of the hood. So here's my wide, my top of my hood. I'm going to line it up here. And I'm going to put a clip in. And then I'm going to put another clip in. And then the bottom of the hood, which is curling up a little bit, is right here. So I'm going to line up the bottom of my middle piece, my star side. Just like that. and then this clip. And I'm going to take it to my machine and I'm just going to ease it in. Okay, so I have both of my hoods sewn. One is the liner, one is the outer. One I have done with a straight stitch, which is going to give me a really nice finish, and I clip my rounded parts. And the other I did with my serger because I'm lazy. So I'm just going to take one of these and turn it right side out. And I'm going to shove it inside of this other one. I'm going to line up these seams here. And just give it a shake. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to sew this base opening. So you're going to want to line up these seams up here, and I push mine out, so that way and that way, depending on what side I'm on. So these ones are going that way. These seams are going to go that way. And just line it up like that. And then I'm going to put it in my machine and I'll sew in the round. So my foot will be inside and on top of this part right here. And you're just going to sew this entire opening using a stretch stitch. I'll be using my serger. Okay, so here is my neck opening, or excuse me, my face opening, and it's sewn. The neck opening is not sewn. So now I can turn this right side out. And it looks kind of funky, and all you gotta do is decide which one is your lining. I'm going to use my serge side as my lining because that's not gonna look as nice when I press it. Now I'm just gonna shove it inside. There we go. Okay, so the lining is inside of the hood, and now what I need to do is I need to press this seam right here, this base opening, and top stitch it. You can choose to be lazy and not top stitch it, which I've done before, but it looks way better with top stitching. And if you're really ambitious, you can top stitch the hood all the way down. Okay, so with my hood done, I'm going to find the center line of my shirt. So, really easy. All you got to do is line it up and then mark the middle with like a pin or clip into the fabric. And then same thing with the hood. So I'm going to line up these seams here, these seams here. I'm going to straighten that out, and that's my middle part. And I'm going to mark it with a clip. Just like that. And then I will mark this back with a clip also. You want to make sure that when you sew this on, the seams are facing out as well as on the shirt. Okay, so this is the outside of my hood, and I'm just going to turn it inside out because I'm going to shove my shirt inside of the neck opening. So it'll be right sides together. So this color block piece is my back of my hood. I'm going to take this and I'm going to shove it inside, and I'm just going to line up that back. So center line to center line, clip it, pull that pin, and then again center line to center line like this, and pull the clip. So you're going to want the seams of your back piece to face out, and that goes for your shirt. Also, those seams should be facing out. And you're going to want to put this in your machine and sew it in the round like we did with our sleeve cuffs. So it's going to go inside the machine like this. The foot's going to be sitting on top, and you're just going to sew all the way around. Okay, so here is my new seam for my hood. I sewed it in the round and I'm just going to unfold it. So there we have it. And next we are gonna attach our waistband. We're gonna assemble it and then attach it, and that'll be the final step. To do our waistband, we're gonna need our shirt, and we're gonna want it assembled with the sleeves and the side seam sewn at the very minimum. Okay, so for the waistband, you'll need 2 waistband pieces. They're cut on a fold, so unfolded they look like this, and you're gonna put them right sides together, just like this. Now, you at this point can sew the short edges, and then when you're done sewing, you'll fold it again, or you can do the little trick that we talked about with the sleeve cuff and fold it again like this and just sew the short side like that. And this gives you a little bit less of a bulky seam to do it that way, and I personally prefer it. All right, so I sewed it and I'm just going to turn it out. Bam, just like that. Now, if you had sewed it the other way, you're going to want to fold it again so that it's narrow like this. Now we're just going to take our shirt, and this is the raw edge. I'm going to turn it so that it's facing away. And I'm just going to insert my shirt into the waistband, and I'm going to line up the side seams, and I'm going to clip those, and I'm going to make one seam go this way and one seam go that way so that it's a little less bulky. So there, and then this one here, and now I'm going to put this in my machine, and with the raw edges lined up, I'll sew in the round again like we talked about when we did the sleeve cuff. So this part will be under my foot like this, and I'll stretch it from seam to seam so that my waistband fits, and I'll sew it all the way around using a stretch stitch and a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So here's my waistband sewn on, and all I need to do now is to turn it like this and give it a press. I'll press the seam up towards the top, and if you want and you're feeling fancy, you can go ahead and top stitch that too, but if not, well, you're done.